Welcome, youth baseball coaches, youth parents. Hey, I know players listen to this. Welcome to the 80/20 Baseball Podcast. Pumped up to be here this week, our weekly get together. I'm going to share with you two specific coaching gear tips that I wear to 90 to 95% of all practices. Plus, I have a bonus energy tip that I've been using for years. But first, two things that I think are really important to discuss for those of you that might be on the fence to continue coaching. You might not be 100% in. My daughter, she's taken a liking to volleyball, and guess what? I'm coaching. In fact, my wife and I co-coach. I'm currently in the middle of my third season coaching volleyball. It's been fascinating to see the similarities between volleyball and baseball, the physical similarities, the movement similarities, and also the teamwork similarities. There's a lot of commonalities, and volleyball is a fun sport to play, watch, and coach. But I'm all in on coaching my daughter's team, and I'll continue to coach her as long as I can. That said, the reason it's such a no-brainer for me to coach and such a no-brainer for a lot of you to coach your kids' team is the fact that by most estimates that approximate how much time parents get to spend with their kids throughout our life, approximately 75% of the time we get to spend with our kids happens before they turn 13, by the age of 12. I have mentioned this stat before, but this is with a different twist. If you're ever on the bubble between coaching and not coaching, you don't feel like you can fit it in, just remember, these years are short, they are fast, and they will go by in a blink. These years being a parent, I know some nights and some days and some weeks, it feels like it's not going to end. It feels like a long marathon. But at the end of the day, at the end of our lives, the amount of time that we get to spend with our kids, the amount of time the average parent spends with their kids, if we break it down into percentages, 75% of that time all happens by the time they turn 13. And by the time our kids get to high school, that's 80% of the time, approximately. I know every family's a little different. Every relationship, parents, kids, differs when the kids get older, of course. And by the time they're 18, we've spent 85 to 90% of the time we're going to spend with them. Now, we've talked in past episodes about how to increase the total time. So I just mentioned percentages, but we've talked about how to increase total time. And that's by being a present, loving parent, even on those days we don't feel like it. And what I wanted to get at here was go out and coach. Go coach. Do whatever you can to coach your kids' team, even if you're just looking to be an assistant. Now, I think if you're listening to the 80/20 Baseball Podcast, you definitely should consider being the manager, the head coach, because what you're getting here is going to put you so far ahead and prepare you so well, not to mention the coaching plan that literally has everything else you need to go out there and be as good a youth coach as any other option that your kids might come across. And it's just a great way to greatly increase that amount of time that we get to spend with our kids. Not to mention it's sports, it's fun. We're not out there digging ditches with them. So I read that stat again, and these few short years will be over soon. That makes it a no-brainer for me to coach. In fact, I had this realization a few weeks ago. I said, I'm going to coach my daughter's volleyball team as long as I can. So it's another huge reason to want to go out and coach. And for those of you that are out there, to be proud of what you're doing, being a youth coach. So I hope you just keep that in the back of your mind moving forward, a little extra motivation to stick with it, to make that sacrifice, that commitment. It'll be worth it. We all make mistakes in life. We make mistakes each week, sometimes each day. Coaching our kids' team is never a mistake, especially if you go out there with all the stuff, the strategies, the skills, the tactics that we talk about here on the 80/20 Baseball Podcast. Speaking of skills, with Coach Sarancic's recent interview, we talked about the mindset, the mental game. We've talked about the mental game on this podcast in the past. Mookie Betts, as many of you know, is one of my favorite players. Of course, I grew up a Dodger fan, going to Dodger games, sitting in the bleachers, out in left field, sometimes in right field. My old man's a Dodger fan his whole life. Went to Dodger Stadium 62 when the stadium opened, went that for a season. Him and I went to Game 7. In fact, the only Game 7 in Dodger Stadium history, the 2017 World Series. Mookie Betts, fun player, team player, but he's been struggling this year, right? He's been on the struggle bus this year. I think these examples of pro players struggling are really important to share with our kids, to realign their expectations with reality, to talk to our players, to use, to share with our players, especially if they know these players. Because no matter who your kid's favorite player is or favorite athlete, They've had a slump. They've had a period of games, a stretch in the season or seasons that they've struggled. And you can find quotes and comments from these star players and sometimes lesser known players that we can share with our own kids who look up to them, who think they're superhuman, think they're perfect, these superhero type of players. So if I have a player who looks up to Mookie Betts, or I have a kid who's a Dodger fan, I'm sharing this story with him. And that is Mookie Betts has been struggling this year. And he said, after all these years, keep in mind, he's the only active position player with 3 World Series championships. He's been an MVP. I think if he has a few more years of consistency, the Dodgers have another year or two of success while he's there. He's on his way to Cooperstown. So he started the year with a serious illness. I guess he lost like 24, 25 pounds, and he's not a big guy. So he had to battle back from that. And he said this is the first year he's had negative doubts. He's in his 30s. He was a very successful high school player, a very successful player as a youth player. He bowls 300 games. He's a 300 bowler. In fact, most things he's done in his life, he's had elite success with. But even after all these years of success, he said that he had doubt come into his mind. Doubt when he was slumping. I was reading a Fangraphs article recently, and he said this in the article a little while back when he had bottomed out. And if you look at his stats, they at the time were awful. His weighted runs created plus, which is essentially how much he helps his offense score runs, summed up into one number, bottomed out in July at 62. The league average is 100. The elite players, the Ohtanis, Mookie in his prime, Judge, they're in the high 100s. You know, Judge is probably over 200 right now. Shohei, right around 200, which is essentially twice as good as the league average when it comes to producing runs. Weighted runs created plus is basically runs created, producing runs for the offense. He was at 62. That's like AAA status, AA status. And that went on for a while. In fact, he was 74 in June. 100 is average, so he's way below average. In fact, 26 to 38% below average, not the all-star level. And here's what he said. I just got lost and I spiraled. It's the first time I've ever spiraled like that. I was in new territory in a slump like this. He said, my season's kind of over. We're going to have to chalk it up as not a great season, but I can go out and help the boys win every night. Do something, get an RBI, make a play, do something that I'm going to have to shift my focus there. You just worry about game to game. So there's a couple things I want y'all to get out of this. Mookie Betts, he's been an MVP of the league, perennial all-star, likely on his way to the Hall of Fame. Don't forget about all those gold gloves. Did you know that he has saved as many runs, or if he's not first, I think he's second when I was reading it recently. He has saved the first or second most amount of runs on defense. They have a stat for that, right? Defensive runs saved. He has saved, if it wasn't first, he's second in the entire league for all positions when it comes to defensive runs saved. Playing shortstop. He's an outfielder. He's won a lot of gold gloves as an outfielder, and he went to shortstop to help the team out and has become an elite shortstop at the major league level. That's nuts. There's guys who play shortstop their entire career that come in good that don't even get to his level after playing the position for 10 or 15 years. So he's worked so hard on that. And I think all that hard work he put into that has been a contributing factor to his struggles at the plate. But what has he struggled with at the plate specifically? Guess what? We talk about the hitting approach, pitch selection all the time. Guess whose hitting plan, pitch selection, has been at an all-time worst? Mookie Betts. His whole career, he's been a very disciplined hitter. Again, you can read more about this over at Fangraphs. This article is by Jay Jaffe, senior writer for Fangraphs. Great writer. Love Fangraphs. So Mookie Betts' worst slump of his career was at the same time he had the worst pitch selection. In his career, he has chased pitches outside of the strike zone, 19.9%. Let's just say 20%. Mookie Betts has been a very disciplined hitter in his career. 20% chase rate. Pitches outside of the strike zone, only swings at 1 out of 5. He's never had a season where he swung at more than 24% of pitches outside of the strike zone. Guess what his percentage was of swinging at pitches outside of the strike zone in the heart of his slump. 31%. That's a big deal. What's interesting too is during his slump, he had some of the lowest bat speed of his career. He's come out of that slump. He's really turned it on and had a strong last half month. He's swinging at fewer pitches outside of the strike zone. So you got to fix that first and foremost. And it's allowed him, in my opinion, to swing harder, not a lot harder, because just swinging crazy and swinging out of your shoes or swinging outside of yourself is not or never a good idea for any hitter. But by swinging at better pitches with less than 2 strikes, and even with 2 strikes to a certain degree, hitters will be able to swing harder because the movement is more natural and in their power zone, their smooth, easy swing zone, versus having to adjust their hands up, down, in, and out. So his bat speed's gone up because he's swinging at better pitches, swinging harder, hitting more line drives, making better contact, and his weighted runs created plus. Since August 1st, his weighted runs created plus is 140. That's all-star area. Shohei is like 190, Mookie 145, Freddie Freeman 146. So the takeaway from this story that I was reading, even the greats struggle. And I think it's important that our kids, our players know that. So they align their expectations for themselves with reality. And by sharing examples like this, stories like this, a message like this, that can help calibrate their expectations of what amount of success or what percentage of success they are going to have. And swing at better pitches, get better results. The number one thing we can fix for almost every hitter at the youth level, if you don't fix that first, it doesn't matter how great their swing is. Great swings, bad pitches equal bad results, unless your kid is a clone of Vladimir Guerrero Sr. or Ichiro. Other than that, swinging at bad pitches, even with a great swing, bad results 95 to 100% of the time. So he started swinging at better pitches. It allowed him to swing a little bit firmer, hitting more line drives, more success. But his attitude, his message that we could share with our players was, hey, my season might be lost with regard to my stats, but I can go out there and help my team win. And at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about, right? And believe it or not, when you have that mindset of going out there game to game and just trying to make a small difference, trying to find some other thing to cling on to have success with, next thing you know, your own success starts coming. Now, for my 2 specific coaching gear tips, I highly recommend when you go to coach, especially when the sun's out, the summer, late spring, and for those of you in Texas, Arizona, California, in the South, Florida, Arizona, year round for y'all, I highly recommend. In fact, I almost never go out to coach without a long sleeve SPF shirt. You can go on Amazon, you can go anywhere and find long sleeve, dry fit SPF shirts. Columbia's got some good ones. I dig the ones with the little hood on them. I think they got a nice look. Now, this isn't necessarily winter gear. Winter gear, you're going long sleeve anyways. You're warm, pullovers, jackets. I get that. But this is when it's sunny. Like right now, we're going to have 87 degrees here in Boise this week. I'm going to be out coaching. I'm going to have a long sleeve SPF shirt on, but I don't want the long sleeve shirt to be thick. It's 87 degrees. And I think most coaches go out there with short sleeves. That's their go-to, or a short sleeve pullover when it's hot. I recommend go with the long sleeve, even if it's 100 degrees. Okay. Now, years ago, I got this idea watching construction workers. Construction workers will be out there. Like I go to visit my wife's family over in the Fresno, California area. And Fresno is very well known for its hot summers. 110 degrees is not abnormal during the summer there. Yet the construction crews that are building the homes out there, they don't stop working. They work all day, whether it's 75 or it's 114. And this is the same in all the places that get to those extreme high temperatures. They wear long sleeve, they wear jeans. Now the jeans are more for safety and probably just the ruggedness of jeans during construction, but their tops are long sleeve shirts with hoods on and big hats. Now that leads me to my second specific coaching gear tip. Years ago, I stopped wearing a baseball hat to practices, to summer games. Whenever I could, I stopped wearing a baseball hat. Now I get it. You have to wear it as part of the uniform as a coach for official games. But if it wasn't an official game where I was required to wear the game hat, the team hat, I wore a wide-brimmed hat. I will put the link to the wide-brimmed hat and the long-sleeve shirts that I recommend. I'll put those in the show note, the show summary, the Amazon link. It'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Wide-brimmed hats have saved my face. I was going down that leathery, crow's feet path after years of playing baseball, coaching baseball with a baseball cap. But a baseball cap literally just keeps your forehead from getting the sun damage. Literally everything else on your face gets beat up. But with a wide brimmed hat, you're going to cut down on your risk for getting skin cancer. You're going to cut down the damage, that wear and tear on the side of your face, especially where your crow's feet start building up. A wide brimmed hat is a must for me. I own two. I had a friend recently ask me, like, hey, you don't like baseball hats? I said, I love baseball hats. I love a ball cap. I got a dozen of them. I'm wearing one right now as I record this for the video you can see on YouTube, the podcast video version. But I don't wear them out there when it's sunny unless the official uniform has to be worn. I wear a wide brimmed hat. Now, most wide brimmed hats you see will be straw. I don't like the straw hat. They get damaged pretty quick if you put it down or you put it in your bag or you set it down in your car. Straw wide brimmed hats are more popular than any other type of wide brimmed hat outside of maybe cowboy hats, right? But now wearing a cowboy hat out on the baseball field feels like that's not somewhere you probably want to go. If you're in Wyoming, maybe, I think you could run with that there. Montana, I think you could probably get away with it there. I don't think you could get away with it in a lot of places, the cowboy hat out on the baseball field. Now, if you can, that's awesome. But you can get away with the wide brimmed, not the straw hat. And again, it looks similar to a straw hat, but it's a wide brimmed hat that is made up of a fabric, a material that's quite a bit better. In fact, I had one years ago and my father-in-law liked it so much, I gave it to him. He wore that thing into the ground out on his ranch. So I've gone through half a dozen of the same wide brimmed hats. I get them on Amazon. They work great and they're durable. They're not made out of straw. In fact, they've been at the bottom of the pool a couple times. They dry out, work fine. And my other tip, long sleeve shirts. And when I say SPF, that's sun protection factor. So essentially it's like having sunblock on your arms without having to put sunblock all over yourself. You get that long sleeve dry fit. You're actually going to feel cooler than as if you had a short sleeve shirt, especially white. My recommendation is a white long sleeve SPF shirt. And when I say SPF, it says on the tag like SPF 50. So, I mean, any long sleeve shirt's probably going to block the sun pretty well. I don't know if these fabrics are been proven to be better because they say SPF 50 or whatever on them. But nevertheless, it's a dry fit, long sleeve shirt. Columbia makes some good ones. These aren't sponsors. I'm just sharing with you what I use and what I really like over all these years. I do like the one with the little light hoodie. I think it's a good look. And on those really hot days, you just tuck it into your wide brimmed hat and you got yourself neck coverage. And I'll tell you what, when you can get that wide brimmed hat with the neck coverage, long sleeves, you're golden. Now you wear shorts with that because, you know, you're probably not going to get skin cancer on your calf muscles, your ankles, but you will get it up on your nose. I've known quite a few baseball coaches over the years that got skin cancer, especially around their nose area. And I think that wide brimmed hat can really help with that. So long sleeve shirt, dry fit, bonus tip on that. White ones work great. They look good. They go with any shorts, and a hoodie, I think, adds an extra nice look to it. The wide brimmed hat, not the straw one. Highly recommend that. And I got a bonus tip here. This is something I've been using for 15 years. I'm sure most of you have probably seen this or heard about it. It is a green tea, yerba mate. It's an Argentinian green tea. I'm a big fan of this. I like coffee in the morning. I get up every weekday right around 5:30, and I like drinking coffee in the morning. I don't know if I'll ever be talked out of drinking coffee in the morning. Really love my coffee in the morning. But around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, got to go out to a practice, especially on a warmer day. Coffee just doesn't sound good to me. So what I'll do is drink some yerba mate tea. They sell them in drinks, cold drinks, or you can get yerba mate. I found some of these little gummies they sell on Amazon. It's basically a little gummy, a tea gummy, or you can get the drinks with yerba mate. They got some really good cold ones. Zambazon makes one. There's quite a few brands out there now. Clean Energy makes one. So it's essentially a green tea, but in my opinion, it's better than the traditional green tea. It's a little different. I like it better because I don't feel any jitters. I feel like the energy is sustained. I've been a big fan of yerba mate for over 15 years now. And when I say big fan, very rarely does a day go by where I don't, between 12 and 1 o'clock, go to the fridge, grab a yerba mate drink, or recently these yerba mate gummies. Big fan of that, especially going out after a day of work, going out to practice. It gives you a little boost, completely natural, of course. I do recommend not drinking it within about 7 to 8 hours of when you go to bed. So like for me, I'll drink my yerba mate or take the little yerba mate gummies between 12 and 2 because I typically go to bed around 9:30, 10:30. I don't want that in my system. That half-life is about 8 hours for me, and everybody's a little different, but definitely I don't consume yerba mate or green tea or any of that stuff, any caffeine after like 2. That's usually my cutoff. So that caffeine, the half-life of caffeine, right, is something to keep in mind. So I wanted to have a little different angle on this podcast with some different things. Shared out some gear tips. That wasn't a stopwatch, which I'm a huge fan of. Wasn't that clipboard, which I'm a huge fan of. Long sleeve shirts with the SPF factor built in. White hoodies, even better. The dry fit fabric. Wide brimmed hat whenever you can. And yerba mate. Big fan of yerba mate. I just think it's like green tea, but way better. And we talked about Mookie Betts struggling, his mindset coming out of it, and what he did at the plate to get out of it. All right. You want more good stuff? Go over to 8020baseball.com. Get the coaching plan. Within the next few weeks, I will be adding an exclusive drill video. It's going to have 11 additional drills. These can't be found anywhere else online. They're going to be included free for anybody who's already purchased the coaching plan. It's going to be included in the coaching plan at the price it's at already for anybody who purchases that coaching plan. It's going to be an additional extra cost eventually. And when I say eventually, in the not too distant future, I got permission to use it from a Hall of Fame baseball coach, somebody who speaks at national coaching clinics, events, a national championship high school coach, probably coached more than 1,000 players who went to college. This coach who made the video probably coached more than 100 players. My guess is more than 100 players professionally. And I would say probably more than about 10 that have played in the major leagues. He ran a first-rate program for over 40 years, Coach Mike Curran. These 11 drills that he has on this video are awesome, competitive bonus drills. Those are going to be added to the already 15 elite team drills that are already in the coaching plan, not to mention the pitching drills that are in the coaching plan. So in my opinion, having seen what's out there, the 80/20 baseball coaching plan is a no-brainer. So head over to 8020baseball.com. Articles, videos, and the coaching plan right there on the top of the homepage. That video will be added to the coaching plan in the next few weeks. And then not too long after that, it's going to be added as a add-on, not built into the program. Just want to let you all know that now. Those of you that already purchased it, it's just going to be added right in and you'll see it when it pops up. And I'll shoot you an email to let you know that it's on there too. All right, next week, we'll talk about a game-changing approach to coaching. I'll share some examples of how we can use this as coaches. Also, we have our top 5 X coaching posts of the month. And boy, this is a good set of posts of wisdom, of knowledge that'll definitely nudge us or push us in the right direction to being a better coach. In 2 weeks, we'll discuss 4 things that we as coaches don't want to do when it comes to dealing with those parents of the players on our teams, things to avoid. We'll talk about those 4 things in a few weeks. I got a couple interviews I'm setting up here in the near future. A couple really good interviews, and this podcast moving forward will continue with that format, a combination of good interviews mixed with these solo episodes, and we'll go from there. Send me your emails, coachbo@8020baseball.com. Let me know how things are going. Send me your questions. Love hearing from all of you. All right, everyone, let's take care of our health so we can be at our best for our families, our close friends, our team. Let's take this information out there to the field. Let's utilize it. Let's put it into play. All right, y'all take care. Until next week. Adios.